cell carcinoma, that's a neuroendocrine cancer of the skin. And you can see all the different codes there for that, the C4As. Okay, and again, that's going to be malignant. Again, it's diagnosed by biopsy. And then next is the malignant neoplasm of ectopic tissue, and that's going to code to the site of origin. So you know sometimes tissue gets implanted, like implants on other organs, and they're saying that you're going to code it to the site of origin. So for instance, they give you the example of ectopic pancreatic malignant neoplasm involving the stomach, and that's going to code to the pancreas because that was the site of origin. And the next section is on benign neoplasms. Those are going to code out to D10 through D36. Obviously, a benign neoplasm is non-invasive. It's not going to metastasize. It's localized to its point of origin. Doesn't mean it can't cause problems. Those little puppies can get big and impinge on nerves, or the example I think they give you here is uterine myomas, which can put pressure on your bladder. So you have to go to the bathroom all the time. It can be a real problem. The way they get rid of benign neoplasms generally is to cut them out. So get rid of them. And then remember carcinoma in situ, that's going to code out to D00 through D09. And that is where the cancer is showing malignant changes, but it has not invaded anything yet. It has not metastasized. It's still at its point of origin. And the one you hear about all the time with that is carcinoma in situ of the cervix. You'll see that one a lot. Okay? So malignant changes, but no spread yet. At the top of page 444, it gives you some other terms for carcinoma in situ. Remember, you have that mean teacher that could use those terms, and you would need to recognize that as carcinoma in situ. So put them somewhere for yourself in your book. Intraepithelial, non-infiltrating, non-invasive, or pre-invasive are all terms for carcinoma in situ. Really, probably the only one you need to keep in your mind is the intraepithelial, because the others tell you it hasn't infiltrated, it hasn't invaded, before invasion. So. And then remember talking about SIN 1, 2, and 3, and VIN 1, 2, and 3, and vein 1, 2, and 3. Those were all dysplasias: cervical dysplasia, vulvular dysplasia, or vaginal dysplasia. And remember, the SIN 3 and the VIN 3 code out as carcinoma in situ. Neoplasms of uncertain behavior code out to categories D37 through D48. And this is where they just really don't know if that tumor is malignant or benign. So it may be that they're starting to see changes, but they cannot determine at the time they're looking at it. So you would code it out as uncertain. Not the same as unspecified. Unspecified means you don't have the information. Uncertain means they can't determine. Okay? They give you two examples. They don't code out as neoplasms of uncertain behavior, but they talk about the tumors that form along the nerves, and that's that neurofibromatosis. They give you that code, Q85.00. Where's that code now? What's that Q code? Anybody remember? What is the Q chapter? Congenital, so something they're born with, right? Okay, and same thing on the next one, that schwannomatosis. That is also coding out to Q8503. So, and those both have tumors growing along the nerves, which sounds horrible. It's like it would be very painful. Okay, and then D49 is the category for unspecified behavior, and that would mean that you had no information about the morphology or the behavior. Because remember, if you have the morphology, it will generally presume that it's malignant or benign. Like adenomas generally code out to benign, whereas carcinoma or sarcomas or melanomas are going to code to malignant. So this would mean you had none of that information. You didn't know the behavior or the morphology type. And then it would code out to that D49. That would include terms such as growth, new growth, neoplasm, tumor. Again, they're reminding you that you really should not have to use these in the acute care facility. They should be able to figure out what kind of growth you have, benign or malignant. Okay. Remember, the one exception to that was the dark spots on the retina, because they are suspecting that that's a malignancy, but it's too dangerous to do the biopsy on the retina. It can cause them to lose their eyesight and cause other problems. So in that case, they're telling you you can use that D4981 for unspecified neoplasm of the retina. And then it talks about the terms mass or lesion. Tells you not to use D49 with mass or lesion. You should go look them up and see, like if it was a mass of the breast, then go look up mass breast and see if you have a code. If you don't, then it wants you to follow the cross references. Same thing with lesion. You could look up lesion breast, see if you get a code. If not, follow the cross reference. And the cross references they give you, you can see that on mass they actually take it back to lump. So you would go lump to mass, mass to disease. Whereas on lesion, if you can't find the site, you're going to go to disease. So it looks like on both of those you're going to end up at disease of a specific organ or site. Okay, on the next page it's talking about morphology. It's taken out a lot of the information on morphology because they removed the morphology codes from your code book. But remember, morphology tells you about the form and structure of the tumor cell. It's telling you the histology. It's telling you the type of cancer that they have. So they use it to identify the tissue of origin. Because remember talking about if you have a primary site and a secondary site, the tissue at the secondary site is going to match the primary site and not the secondary site. So remember, if you have breast that goes to the brain, the tissue up here is going to look like boob tissue, not brain tissue. Hence, boob head. Okay? Just so you remember that.
Did you plan that one out?
Yes, I thought about it for many years. That's why I call people a boob head. No. So anyway, keep in mind that the tissue at a secondary site matches the primary site, and that's how they tell which is primary and which is secondary. Okay. The other thing it talks about here is tumor registry, how they fill out cancer staging sheets. They put them on the record to be completed by the physician, and or they complete their portion and it gets signed. And it's just telling you here that if that document has been authenticated by the attending physician, if he signed it, then you can use that to help code. And so if you need some of the information off of that, you can use it. Anybody remember what the morphology